Welcome to episode 237 of Build Your House Yourself University by BYHYU. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson, and together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can make smart decisions and build beautiful, quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. This week we'll go over some design tips that I read in a recent article on houzz.com called 7 Major Decorating Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. Even if you like interior design like I do, it can be intimidating to decorate an entire house. But information like this will give us some guidance and a little more confidence when making decisions about our decor. Before we get into the list of those decorating mistakes, great big thank yous go to Film Shooter 01 and Tara in Texas. You two are so kind for supporting me and the show by writing our latest Apple Podcasts 5-star ratings and reviews. Film Shooter 01 let everyone know that the podcast is very professional, entertaining, and informative. And Tara in Texas says that the show is exactly the type of podcast she was searching for. It's so nice to read that positive feedback. I do my best to be helpful, and as you know, if you've listened to the first episode, this is exactly the type of podcast I was searching for too. And because I couldn't find a show to teach me about the basics of home building and design, well, I started BYHYU. If you find the podcast helpful and you want to give back to the show, the best way to support us is by sharing episodes and sharing why you like the show within reviews, your social media posts, and just in conversation. If you're in a home building or design social media group, let them know about us. Spreading the word about the podcast really does help me. So if you've already done that, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing that. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to the 7 decorating mistakes and corresponding tips on how to do things right. Mistake number 1, choosing paint first. Paint goes everywhere. And although it has such a prominent presence in our homes, it usually doesn't make sense for it to be the first thing that you choose. Because there are so many paint colors available, you can usually find lots of options that work with your furnishings and decor. That's the mistake. Here's the solution. First, settle on some of your essential fabrics, furnishings, and accessories, and then pick the corresponding colors of paint. That's because looking for furnishings to go with a specific paint color can be difficult. There are literally hundreds to thousands of paint colors in various light to dark shades that will go with just about any decor pieces. A good rule of thumb for decorating almost any room is to first choose furnishings and materials that have the most limited options. Then move on to choosing coordinating items with a broader range of selections. For example, first choose a sofa in a fabric, size, comfort level, quality, and budget that you like. You may find 3 to 10 options that would work. Then move to accent chairs and accessories. And finally, move to paint because there are so many paint choices. Plus, choosing your furnishings, rugs, and larger items first will help you to narrow down your selection of wall colors. If you start by looking through hundreds of paint colors, it can be overwhelming. The only exception to this suggestion is if you have a very favorite paint color and you can't stop thinking about it. In that case, you can try choosing the wall color first, but know that it might be pretty frustrating and time-consuming to find coordinating furnishings. Mistake number 2. Buying furniture without measuring. It's hard to judge the scale of furniture when it's sitting in a store, showroom, or especially if it's shown online. Beautiful sofas and tables that are too large or too small for your space will take away from the appeal of those pieces and take away from the appeal of the overall room. The solution is to know the ideal measurements that you need for furniture, lighting, and artwork for each room in your house. Also, note whether going about 3 inches above or below those ideal measurements might work. just in case you find something that you really like that's almost the ideal size. After you've figured out the sizes that you need, let the dimensions, not your eyes, guide your decisions. To figure out ideal dimensions for your furniture and artwork, you can draw your room dimensions to scale on a piece of graph paper. You can make 1, 2, or 3 squares of the graph paper equivalent to 1 foot. Make sure you add windows and doors to your room drawing. Then, using pencil, erasable pencil, draw in the major furniture pieces. You'll likely use your eraser a lot when you're first trying things out. When you have a general idea of the scale of furniture needed, you might want to cut out some appropriately sized paper furniture pieces and move them around the graph paper room to see what arrangement allows for the best flow and function. Alternatively, or in addition, you can use an online room planning tool or app that will allow you a more realistic look at the room and furnishings you're planning. I usually start with graph paper, then play around with an online tool. There are many free and paid virtual planners out there. Just do a Google search. IKEA has one that I've never tried but heard good things about. I've used the one at roomstyler.com. It's fairly simple. And that site also has templates for virtual inspiration mood boards. Okay, so after you've done the planning on paper and or online, if you're extra paranoid or if you have any questions about whether the furniture pieces you're considering will work, take a tape measure and some painter's tape and go to your house site. Mark out the length and width of the pieces you're thinking about purchasing. I recently did this with the dimensions of a fireplace I was wondering about, and after I taped out the dimensions on the wall, I quickly saw that I needed to increase the size of the fireplace. Finally, create a room-by-room list of furniture measurements needed. Always have that list with you, either in your car or on your phone, so it's close by if you happen to see a piece of furniture or art that you like. If you fall in love with something that's out of your size range, ask if it comes in different sizes, or jot down its measurements and tape it off in your space to see if it might work for you. Okay, that was a long one. Let's move on to mistake number 3, shopping in just one store. According to this House article, one-stop shopping is all the rage these days, but furnishing your entire home or even just one room from the same store tends to result in a much less interesting visual story than taking some time to shop around. Here's the solution. Well, I think it's probably okay to get a few pieces from one store, but you want your rooms to look like you, not like a pottery barn or restoration hardware showroom or catalog. So limit the number of pieces you get from one brand. You can also shop at a brick and mortar store or online store that carries several different design lines and brands. Think something like Wayfair or Overstock. Plus, add in a few vintage or custom pieces. This will help avoid a copycat look in your house and will ensure that your home will be uniquely yours. Mistake number 4, buying a matching set of furniture. Now, this goes along with the one-stop shopping mistake that we just talked about. Most designers say that matching sets, such as a bedroom suite or a matching sofa, love seat, and chair, that's a no-no. A room where all the furniture pieces share the same shape, scale, and fabric is, well, boring. And frankly, it looks less sophisticated and less expensive than a room that mixes coordinated but varied pieces. The solution to this mistake is to first choose a major piece or two from one set. Choose those major pieces based on the 3 F's that we talked about in episode 203, called Your Home's Interior Design, What to Do and Where to Start, Part 1. All right, pop quiz. Do you remember the 3 F's of design? The 3 F's that we discussed will help you begin your room design. Those F's stand for function, focal point, and feeling. Take a listen to episode 203 for more about that. So after you select a piece or two from one set, look to a different line, brand, or style for furniture that coordinates without being perfectly matchy-matchy. Vary details like color, materials, finishes, textures, shapes, scale, patterns, and styles. Now, to be clear, everything should coordinate. Everything should go, but everything shouldn't match. Although exactly matching too many pieces is definitely not recommended, using a few of the same details throughout a room and throughout the entire house will help pieces relate and give your spaces some cohesion. For more information about how to make spaces cohesive without being matchy-matchy, take a listen to episode 204. It's the second part of that interior design episode. Mistake number 5, never making a bold choice. You don't want to make bold design choices hastily or without contemplation. But we shouldn't be afraid of thoughtfully including a few unexpected or adventurous decor decisions that add interest to your space. Without bold choices, your house becomes uninspiring and bland. Here's the solution. Take a little risk. Add a touch of drama, moodiness, or whimsy with bold accent colors, wallpaper, artwork, accessories, rugs, and lighting fixtures. Balance boldness with more subtle neutral items. And remember that you can always switch out your bold choices if over time those choices just don't feel right. You might want to limit your bold selections to things that aren't too expensive and things that can be changed out fairly easily, like artwork, paint color, removable wallpaper, an accent chair or ottoman, rugs, and accessories. Mistake number 6, making everything bold. House says the opposite of the previous mistake is to expect every piece you invest in to be the dazzling showstopper. Even in very dramatic spaces, some elements must be simple staples that take a back seat to the focal points. That's so the focal points can be the shining stars that they're supposed to be. If everything in the space is bold, then nothing in the space feels bold or special. And none of your focal points get the attention and appreciation they deserve. Here's the solution. After you've chosen 1 or 2 bold focal points, like artwork, tile, cabinet color, or an accent chair, let other pieces in the room be relatively simple, a supporting cast to those focal point shining stars in the space. And finally, mistake number 7, not letting go of the past. I know that you might want to keep a few sentimental pieces, even if they're now worn, unattractive, outdated, and or not functional. But if you include too many of those flawed sentimental pieces in your house, your design will severely suffer. Your space won't be as fresh and as functional as it could be. And let's call it what it often is: clutter. Houses cluttered with out-of-style, damaged furniture and accessories can make a brand new house feel dated. Spaces cluttered with too many unnecessary things can take on an old lady grandma vibe that most people want to avoid. Even most older ladies building a new house typically want to avoid the old lady vibe. That vibe is the vibe I remember from my Aunt Margie's house. I loved her dearly. She raised my mother, and she was really more like a grandmother to me. She greatly influenced me in the best ways, but what I don't want to take from her is her home decor style. She never threw or gave anything away. She had stuff everywhere, including lots of tchotchkes, which she called whatnots. And whenever I'm unsure about whether to buy something or keep something, I ask myself, is this giving me an old lady vibe? Or would Aunt Margie want this in her house? Some things from the past are good, but there are things from our past that we just need to let go of. Here's the solution. Look at all your things with fresh eyes, or have an honest, stylish friend or family member help you decide what items are worthy of going to your new home. Now, not everything in your house needs to be new. In fact, not everything should be new. Older things ground our spaces and give them soul. But if your older things aren't classic, functional, and in fairly good shape, strongly consider refurbishing, donating, or selling them. And keep in mind that your house can feel cozy without being cluttered. If you know you have a lot of stuff from your past that you need to get rid of, take a listen to episodes 229 and 230 called Decluttering Gradually, Months Before You Move, Parts 1 and 2. So, our list of design mistakes to avoid are: number 1, choosing paint first. Number 2, buying furniture without measuring. Number 3, shopping in just one store. Number 4, buying a matching set of furniture. Number 5, never making a bold choice. Number 6, making everything bold. And number 7, not letting go of the past. My apologies for being a little off schedule. I went out of town week before last to celebrate my husband's birthday and our wedding anniversary, so I didn't get a show out. But just make sure that you subscribe to the show so that when things like that happen and when new episodes come out, you can get them as soon as they're released. That's all I have for you this week. Thank you for joining me. Come back next time for another episode of Build Your House Yourself University. BYHYU. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.